Well, there you all are. Hello, my name's Rick Farron, and welcome in tonight. We've got a few great programs coming up tonight. So you don't want to miss it live here on the Six Screens Tele Network. We have Anne Marie coming in from Northern California, and she's got a program tonight, Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower. She'll be coming up in about 5 or 10 minutes. And you know, when you were one of Jehovah's Witnesses, there must have been something positive that you liked. I mean, maybe not too many things that were positive, but there must be something that you came away from that organization and said, that wasn't too bad. So Anne Marie is going to be discussing that tonight. So we're looking forward to that, and we'll have Anne Marie coming on here very, very shortly. So you just stay right on our network with us, and we'll have Anne Marie come right on with us. But also we have coming up tonight. After that, we have JW World News. Now, that's the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about. We talk about it every Saturday night and every other Sunday right here on the Six Screens Tele Network. Now, that pedophile up in Maine, that Jehovah's Witness pedophile, I don't know if you saw that story or not, but we'll be talking about that tonight. And friends, I have to tell you what an ugly situation. That pedophile was raping his own two daughters as well as another young girl. And he took one of his daughters in the woods and he said, if you tell anybody what I'm doing to you, this is going to be where I'm burying your body parts. I mean, how bad is that? But that's the type of creeps, many of them that exist in the Watchtower organization. So we'll be discussing that tonight with Anne Marie. She'll be coming on here very, very shortly. Well, we're so glad that we have this program, and we're glad that we can bring it up every Saturday night. We have cut the overnight program off. You'll notice we'll be going off the air tonight. Maybe in time we'll start it back up again. But for the time being, we have cut the overnight program off. So just wanted to give you a little heads up on that. But we're glad that we're seeing so many more people coming out of the Watchtower. We see so many wanting to expose the Watchtower. Many people becoming activists. Many people just come out of the Watchtower and just kind of fade away, don't do too much. And then there are activists that are doing YouTube videos, activists that are protesting, activists that are writing books, creating films. So, there's a lot of people leaving the Watchtower, and we're so glad that many of them are taking the time and the effort to connect with the ex-witness world and to be able to expose the Watchtower right on their YouTube channel and on the Facebook posts. It makes a real big difference, folks. It really, really does. When you stop and think about it, the Watchtower is continuing to bring more people in through the cart work and what have you. But the good news is there's more going out the back door than there is coming in the front door. So that is a good thing. So we always are happy to see so many people. We'll have some new ones probably coming in here tonight. Every Saturday night when we do our live programs, we have people come in for the first time and speak up. And that's remarkable when they do that. It's so good to hear from people for the first time. So if you're listening out there on our radio network or any of our platforms that we're on tonight, by all means, be sure to call in. I'll post the telephone number up when our YouTube video starts here tonight. So just hang on for a few minutes. I do believe Anne Marie's on with us. Maybe we'll get our program starting a little early tonight. Let me see if she's on here with us. Are you on there with me, Anne Marie? Can you hear me? We're a little early tonight. I'm looking at my clock here. I thought we were about 4 minutes early. So maybe she's not ready yet. But it is so fascinating to me. It is so fascinating to me to see all the emails that I'm getting. And people are saying, Rick, I'm leaving the Watchtower. And it's not just them, it's their relatives and friends. They're coming out in droves. Doesn't that make you happy when you see that? Well, it certainly makes me happy to see that. So we're seeing all these witnesses that are leaving the Watchtower, and their relatives and friends are coming out with them. And I've had it happen to me. Just in the last, in the last 2 years, I've had five different relatives come out. Pretty close relatives too. But they're still like chemos. They don't want people to know, but they have contacted me and they said that they see us here on the 6 screens. So they have contacted me and said that they've had enough. And I hope that happens with you too. I think it's only a matter of time. And then you're going to see more and more of your relatives and friends will be coming out and wanting to get a hold of you. Have you thought about what you might say when they do, after they haven't talked to you for so many years? Wouldn't you start writing down notes? And well, what are you going to say to your relatives when they call you up and say, I've had it. I'm not going to be a Jehovah's Witness any longer. So yeah, it's going to happen. And I'm not looking through rose-colored glasses either. I know it's happening because it's happened with me. And it's also happened with a number of my good friends that have seen the same thing. So don't give up. Don't get discouraged. They're going to be coming out. There's going to be more and more apostates. You just watch and see. You just give this thing a shot. Why? Let's say within the next 6 months to a year, and the apostate world is going to explode. There's no ands, ifs, buts about it. So anyways, if Anne Marie is out there and she wants to come on a little bit early, Anne Marie, can you hear me? Hit *6 if you can. I think she probably just has her telephone on, and she's probably just waiting till the time comes. Well, let's see what we got. Let me take a look. I did mention some. Yes, Anne Marie, are on with us?
I mean, I unmuted myself like 3 times, and I thought for sure I was unmuted. And then when you said, well, maybe she's, I'm like, oh, don't tell me I got muted again. I've been here the whole time.
Oh, no, I've seen you, but I figured maybe just dialed in. We'll wait until the exact time. It's a little early. It's about a minute early. So I guess we're ready to go. So let's, you're not?
I'm not ready. Well, actually, I'm cooking. If you don't mind me cooking, I have to make chicken tenders for my husband.
All right.
Can you hear the call? Is this okay? I mean, I'll get off. I'll do whatever you want, my brother. This is your shit.
Well, I mean, if you're in the middle of cooking
Go
something.
ahead, dear.
If you're in the middle of cooking.
Whatever you want.
All right, I'll just, what I'll do is I'll just talk to some people here in the meantime, okay? Go ahead, cook.
Okay, but I can do whatever you want me to do, my brother.
Well, I don't want you burning yourself. I mean, you take care of that. Cook your chicken, and this is when you're ready. Come on,
okay? Oh, bless your heart. But guess what?
Yeah. All right. Well, anyways, who would like to speak up right now? So how about anyone want to speak up? If you want to speak up, go ahead and hit *6. And let's speak up, waiting for Anne Marie to cook her chicken tenders, and then we'll bring the program on. All right. Marissa.
My brother?
Yes.
I'm trying to tell you, it's okay. I can talk. I can do whatever you want me to do. But I do wanted to share. Oh, Lord. I'm sorry. I'm tired. I did want to share. Do you guys remember? I told you about my brother-in-law, Bob, who never was disfellowship, but he left the witnesses, and the elders kept hassling him and then coming to his house trying to get his wife to leave him. His wife is a very staunch Nazi Jehovah's Witness, and he met the elders at the door the last time they dared to come. And he told them straight up to their face, don't ever come here again. Don't ever even hint to my wife that she should leave me. If you ever try to come between my marriage or me and my wife, I have a 45 and a box of bullets with your names on them. And that was years ago. You know what? They have left them alone. And all of the fun part is all of the young brothers that like to hang out and have fun, they go riding motorcycles with him because nobody can say he's disfellowship because they don't dare disfellowship with my boss. Well, Bob knows a lot of brothers and sisters that I knew from when I was young and when I was in the organization. And one of my absolute favorite brothers was Bill. Bill was a great guy. He was always friendly, always kind. His wife was wonderful. She was just a real fun, outspoken, whatever's on her mind. She was just a sweetheart. Well, I found out from Bob. Bob told me that my friend Bill was recently taken off the elders list. They took him off the elders. They made him step down. The reason was because you can't control your wife. I think she was writing letters to the organization, asking questions, and she's very outspoken. I mean, it's not like she's rude. She's not disrespectful, but they got on him over and over. You need to get your wife to be quiet. You need to get your wife under control. And he would tell them, she's a grown human being, and that's my wife, and I support her. So they took away his eldership. Well, that was the last thing I had heard. So I told my friend Bob, by and by, if you ever run into my brother Bill, because every time I'd ever run into him, he was so nice. He'd say, Anne-Marie, how are you? And I always talked to him the same, no matter if I was in the organization or not. And he was always nice to me, always smiled, always hugged me back. So he never changed in his attitude toward me, ever. And there were only 2 other people that were like that. Anyway, I just got off the phone with Bob a little while ago. He called me. He says, Anne-Marie, you won't believe who I just ran into. And he told me it was my friend Bill from my old congregation from when I was young. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, you told me to tell him that you said hi if I ever saw him. So I stuck out my hand and I shook his hand, and he said, that handshake is for Anne-Marie. She told me to tell you hi and that she misses you. He said that my friend Bill said, well, I haven't heard that name in a long time. How is she? And do. Oh, man, I've been smiling all morning. I just wanted to share that with you, my brother.
Well, that's good news. I mean, see that? Now all of a sudden, things are starting to move in a positive direction.
You know, I believe so. I do believe so. Did you want me to introduce the show, my brother?
Yeah. Go ahead. No, are you ready to go? And I don't want you to burn the chicken wings. Yeah.
No, I won't burn them. I usually burn myself.
All right.
Yeah, no worries.
All right.
Thank you so much, my brother. Give you time to go take a break. I want to welcome everyone into the show. Today is September 23rd, Saturday, 6 Green Saturday, September 23rd. This is the first show of the weekend. It is Touched by the Tentacles. And again, as I always say, weren't we all touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower in one way or another, and maybe in 10 ways, who knows? And not only we were touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower, but our family who weren't in Watchtower, the friends that we had who weren't in Watchtower, maybe our classmates, our school, our fellow employees, our neighbors, just by the way we acted, our attitude, the things that we would say. Somebody'd say, Merry Christmas, or are you all ready for Christmas? Did you get nice presents for your children? And you get that look on your face and give them a big old preaching about how wicked and pagan this happy, wonderful holiday, especially for children, is. So this is a great show where we come on and talk about different topics. And today's topic is, even though we talk a lot about a lot of the negative things, Rick came up with the idea of, how about we have a show where for this show we look at the positive things. There must have been some positive aspects in your memory that you can recall being in the Watchtower. Maybe there was a special, maybe, I don't know, picnics, or maybe there was somebody you met that really, really liked you or cared about you. Maybe you have a happy memory doing something. I don't know. I can't think of anything off myself. The only thing I can think of is I sure look nice. I mean, I dress real pretty. I always had nice clothes, and maybe I didn't have much money, but I looked good. And my children always looked really, really nice. But that's probably the only thing I can think of. I love the meetings. I love the conventions. I'm kind of a car analogist, a vehicle analogist. I used to say that going to every meeting was like going to the gas station and get my tank filled. And say that every convention, every circuit convention was kind of like getting a tune-up. And I'd say every district convention, of course they don't have them anymore, they have to widen their skirts. But every district convention is like getting an overhaul. An actual convention is like getting a major overhaul. Everything was like a car analogy. And I literally wrapped my whole mind, and my whole life was all around this schedule from Watchtower. Every day. Before they went, couldn't go anywhere, do anything on a Saturday unless we went out and service first. Then we served Jehovah first. And then if we had a little money, I could take them to the boardwalk or take them to the park or something. But it was always the Watchtower first, us later. You know how it goes. Anybody have any memories, maybe, I can't think off the top of my head for you, but I'm hoping that there might be a good memory or a good experience, something besides negative. Like I was always gossiped about so badly. Interrupt me anytime. I'm just talking because we don't want dead air. If anybody want to talk, interrupt me, *6. Otherwise, I will convey something actually was nice. Something was actually nice. Anybody want to talk?
Well,
Shut up.
I'll be the icebreaker. I'll be the icebreaker, Anne Marie, to get people talking here. But I can't think of a whole lot of positive things in the Watchtower that I experienced. But there was a few things. And I'll start first about with the ministry school. I think the ministry school helped me a lot. I think it helped me in broadcasting. I think it's also helped me in my business career. I joined the ministry school when I was a teenager, and I used to like giving talks and getting up, and I've given talks in front of congregation, given talks at convention assemblies, given talks at different venues of the Watchtower, going around from congregation to congregation. So it kind of trains you. It trains you how to speak with people. I was also the ministry school conductor at one point, and I learned a lot from the Qualified to Be Ministers book on how to speak, public speak. So I think it was kind of good. The ministry school was something that I found quite good. That's a positive thing. I also found that, being one of Jehovah's Witnesses, I wasn't like a renegade teenager. I didn't get myself involved in drugs or smoking or alcohol or being promiscuous or anything like that. I just stayed according to the book, so to speak. So, that kind of was good. That's good. I mean, keeping you away from smoking and drinking and being a renegade type person. So that was a good thing. So ministry school and teaching you good moral values. I can think of others too. We'll see if someone else has something they'd like to think about. Well, what do you guys think? You're listening in tonight. What do you think? What was one of the positive things that you took away from being one of Jehovah's Witnesses? Go ahead, speak up. You're on the Touched by the Tentacles program. Go ahead.
Or even an experience, somebody was nice to you, a friend. Go ahead, start it.
Well, I'll hop back in here again, Anne Marie, until we can get some ones to muster up the courage.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have a number of them on here. But another thing that I'll say, I was a third generation Jehovah's Witness, so I really was somewhat born into it. And my mother was a loyal witness. But one thing I appreciated, even though she didn't realize she was in a cult, but my mother taught me about God. She taught me how to pray. She taught me about Jehovah, as they would say. And I appreciated that. I love to learn about God. Until this day, I still do. And that was a good thing. My mother, being a witness, didn't realize how dangerous the organization was. And even as a witness, there's many scriptures that I have come to memorize, really, from being in the Watchtower. We did use our Bible at one time. Now they're using tablets and phones, but we did have to look up scriptures, and I like that. And I used to enjoy learning about the Bible, the Bible books, and all of that. So there's some positive things, but the negative, the critical things far outweigh the positive, Anne Marie.
I'm hearing you. I was just thinking of a positive experience because in the Watchtower, understand, being a single mother, and unfortunately, if you're a pretty and a young single mother with long blonde hair and green eyes, the women are going to hate you, and the men, if they look at you and you catch them, they're looking away. And it's like And I don't know, like, I didn't have very good experiences, but I'll tell you what, there were two circuit overseers that were really kind to me. One of them was Brother St. Clair, and he seemed to admire how I was always by myself, nobody helped me. So I remember when I had my fourth baby, and I'm saddled down with a purse and diaper bag and all of the books that we had to carry, of course, to the circuit assemblies and the district ones. I had to train my three boys to kind of hold on to the back of each other's jacket. I told them that they were trained. My first one, my oldest twin, I told him he was the locomotive, and I told my oldest, who was in the middle, that he was the main car, and I told my younger twin, who was behind on the back, that he was the caboose. Now, we had a train that went by our house twice a day since they were in diapers, so they knew all about a train and the parts of the train. So I would be able to carry my daughter in my arms, loaded down with all my bags, and I would have to walk through the crowd, and I had to absolutely trust that my little ones were right behind me, because I would literally have to weave in and out of the crowd. And I never thought anything of it. I was just doing what I had to do what I had to do. And I was also in the assembly hall. It bothered me that my children always had to sit behind a bunch of adults and they could never see the speaker. And I thought, well, the front row in the middle, right in front of the stage, nobody ever sat there. And I thought, well, this is ridiculous. It might be embarrassing, like I'm going to feel kind of conspicuous, but why should my children have to sit where they can't see the stage or the speaker? When nobody is in the front row, why can't we sit there? Because my children were very well behaved. I never once had to take any of my children to spank them or slap them. I'm very proud of that. And so we started sitting in the middle of the aisle that was right in front of the stage. Of course, you know, there was the whispering, and who does she think she is? And she's just showing off, and she just wants everybody to look at her. I mean, I can't believe the nasty, mean things some witnesses can say. However, I remember the speaker, this one brother, Brother St. Clair, the circuit overseer at the time. He was our circuit overseer for about 3 years. He was so nice. Nice Italian guy with pockmarked skin and big black frame glasses. I remember him kind of looking at us and kind of giving a little nod or sometimes a little smile of acknowledgement to the children, because the children weren't looking in their coloring books. They were actually listening. And he noted that. Well, he started saying something about the mother duck with her little ducklings. So he was talking about, you know, being a parent and handling children in the conventions. And when I realized he was talking about me and my kids, I turned beet red and I didn't know what to do. And I thought, well, he must be talking about somebody else. But then he mentioned us in several other conventions or other talks or whatever. And that's when people started really getting mean and I stopped letting my kids sit there. But what I'm saying that was nice, what was a good experience, is that I was acknowledged instead of being called a whore, and I was going after everybody's husband, and I didn't feed my children, and just the really mean things that people would say. Here was somebody in a respectful position in the Watchtower organization, and he was saying from the podium something nice about me. You know what, that really blew my mind. It was really, really, really nice. And that kind of helped me because most of my experience was not nice. But we're remembering positive things. I used to remember feeling the joy of feeling that I was in God's organization, the only true religion on the earth. I really believe that because that's what they told us. And I remember smiling a lot because when I was in the organization at a meeting, especially at a convention, I felt like for that amount of time, I could shut out the world and I could just relax because I was among my brothers and sisters. I took the organization and being in the organization very seriously. And I was full of gratefulness. I literally had a grateful heart for being able to be in Jehovah's organization. and to have somebody who wasn't gossiping about me, who actually said something nice, was like a big double benefit. Anybody want to comment, share their experience, opinions, their story? Start there.
Well, and we get a lot of background noise going on there. I'm not sure what that is. Not sure what that is. Okay. Well, come on. If you'd like to say hello to us, go ahead. Speak up right now. You're on with us. Let's hear from you. What was one of the positive things that you took away from being one of Jehovah's Witnesses? Is there anything at all that you could find was kind of nice being in the Watchtower? I mean, I know you have to dig kind of deep, but if we don't get much, well, go ahead. You're on with us, 510. Go ahead. Hit *6. You'll be unmuted. Hit *6, 510. You're on with us. Go ahead.
Hey, well, I have some good experience, growing up as a Jehovah's Witness. Currently now I'm no longer a Jehovah's Witness, but growing up, being raised in the truth, it was hard growing up, especially as a teenager. It had good morals, of course, good understanding, but later down the road when I got married in the truth, of course, of course, he was an elder. I was the next pioneer at the time. And at the time, it was really hard. Our marriage was really hard, but he had some really deep secrets that, serving as an elder, he was an alcoholic. And it came out later on. And when I could totally relate what this lady was talking about right now, just now, I forgot her name, I apologize. But when he got to fellowship and we got divorced and all that stuff, nobody knew how to treat me. I was a single mother with 17-month-old twins, and everybody just kind of turned their head, or the sisters that would stare at me, that knew me at one time or knew us as a couple, didn't know how to treat me. And it just kind of made me really bitter. But looking back, they have some good things to learn as families and teaching, but overall, I'm at a good place in my life where I don't have to worry about all that. And now I have children on my own that are now preteens and teaching them just basic stuff, but no pressure about, being in the truth, of course, and because I'm no longer in the truth myself. And I feel like I'm free, but it's so hard to unwind what I've learned so long all my life, to be able to think differently. And that's where I'm at today.
Well, see, you go ahead, Anne-Marie.
No, I'm just, the sister said that she had 17-month-old twins when she got divorced, and now she's struggling in the Watchtower as a single mother. I am having nothing but understanding and sympathy for her. I assume she didn't really get much help because people will walk by like that's not my problem. That's their attitude. But I'm glad you're out of that now. But what we're really, I know this is something different. But Rick was thinking, we always talk about the negative and the bad stuff and the mean stuff. And I'm just wondering, if we can just talk today about anything positive that we experienced. Maybe there was a friend. I had a friend in the Watchtower named Arlene, and we would talk to each other every day, and we'd end up being on the phone for an hour, half an hour. She goes, well, we're still going to be on the phone. I might as well just come and get you. So she'd come over and get me and pick up me with my 5 children. And my 5 children would hang out with her 3 children. And it was like they were related. I mean, they were close in age. They were like uncles, brothers, cousins, whatever. And it was great. And it just was so nice. She felt like we were like literal sisters. And that was a wonderful experience. And in fact, because we were both single moms, one day we thought, wouldn't it be nice if we could just get away? We wanted to go to a theme park that was quite a ways away. And I still am grateful to these sisters. I don't even know who they all were, but Darlene got it arranged to where 3 or 4 different sisters decided they would help both me and my friend Darlene, and they decided that they would take our kids in shifts so that we can have from early morning until late at night, actually till the next morning. So just be with us. And it was the best day. We had the best day. Unfortunately, we wasted about 4 hours of it looking for gifts to give, thank you gifts for the people that were taking care of our kids. Don't ever do that. If you have a chance to get away, don't waste time buying things. That's the only thing I got. Okay. But it was a wonderful day. And I just have one more two happy experiences, but I'm looking and encouraging anyone that can think of something nice, something if they had fun. Did you play baseball at a Jehovah's Witness picnic? Was somebody nice to you? Did somebody give you encouragement? Did somebody say something nice to you?
Hi, Anne Marie, we got a lot of background noise on your phone. I'm not sure what that is, but there's a lot of noise. Yeah. The sister that was just on, I think that was your first time you called in, 510. You want to come back, 510? Are you still on there with us? Just hit *6.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I want to say thank you for coming in. I believe you were the first, this is your first time calling in, is it? Well, thank you.
It's my first time calling, and I'm very encouraged. I listened to your show, and it's so nice. And going back to what that sister was talking about, she did say, I did have a good experience. There was one time I was at the convention, and I had, of course, the babies. They were probably about 6 years old. I was going to the convention by myself. I had a pioneer woman that out of nowhere come behind me and say, I was carrying a cooler that was probably about 25 pounds. And she was awesome because she grabbed my hand and she just said, it's going to be okay. And she grabbed my kid's hand, and it was just so hard to do things by myself.
Well, it was emotional. It was emotional, sister. You felt that she really gave you some encouragement, huh?
Yeah, it was so encouraging in that way because as a single parent, when you have been raised in the truth and you've married in the truth and you were married to an elder, at one time it was just so hard because you're raising 2 little kids that are small, and you have a 25-pound cooler, and you're trying to go to a convention that's 4 blocks away. And it was just really hard for me, and it was just such an awesome experience that she grabbed my hands, the kids' hands, and I was carrying the cooler, and it was 85 degrees, sweating humidity, walking to the convention center, and I just, I'll never forget that. That's an awesome experience itself because it's so hard to do things by yourself.
Wow, but that's encouraging. Now, was a sister? I'm surprised a brother didn't stop and help you.
I know, it's so hard as a single parent. The brothers are supposed to be very careful, and actually supposed to be where they have to get approval from their wife. And if the wife is involved or the wife is around you, then yeah. But no brother came up and he says, do you need help? Are you okay? Here I am sweating, holding 2 kids in a stroller, and then trying to carry a 25-pound cooler. And of course, as those my twins, one of the child is autistic. So I even had more challenges going to the convention and dealing with that.
Wow. Well, that is that's a hardship. So the kids are pretty older now, are they?
Yeah, they're 12 years old, and they're doing well. And what's happening is that nowadays they're thriving. I do teach them how to treat people and kindness. I do not force the truth on them because what I went through as a child. I went through severe abuse as as a child, and of course, being in a marriage that had to deal with, being married to an elder, was very abusive behind doors. So, yeah, I wanted, I'm training my children now to be good citizens and good people and respectful. So, yeah.
Well, good for you, sister. Now, could we get a name? You don't have to use your real name if you don't want to, but what is your name, sister?
My name is Marissa, and that's my real name.
Okay, Marissa. Well, I'll tell you what. We have a Sunday program where people come on and share their story. I bet you have so much more you can tell us all. Would you be free tomorrow to come into the Sunday program and tell your story?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, in fact, work that out with her, Anne Marie. It's Anne Marie's show, so go ahead, Anne Marie. You work that out with Marissa.
Oh, that would be lovely. Marissa, what do you think about Rick's suggestion?
Yes, that sounds wonderful. I will share my story. I think it can help a lot of people.
So it comes on, okay, I know it's 11 o'clock in the morning, my time, Pacific Standard Time. So from where you are, your time zone, are you able to be on at maybe 5 till 11 just so you can call in?
Well, what time? Hold on 1 second. We'll have to get where you're calling in from, Marissa. All right, so we don't get. Okay, you in Central or Mountain Time?
We're the same time as Pacific Standard Time because time hasn't.
Okay, all right. Then you come in. Actually, it'd be Anne Marie's time. You around 11 o'clock your time. If you're 3 hours behind. Yeah, you call in then, and then same telephone number, and you'll be on the program.
Okay, thank you. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
So you want to make, yeah, your name is Marissa, is that your name, dear? Hello?
My name is Marissa.
With an M or an L?
It's M as in Mary, A as in Apple.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to know. I got it. I just wanted to know if it started with an M. I have Larissas, Marissas, Alyssas, a lot of them in my life, and I always get tongue-tied. So I want to make sure I call you the right name. Okay, Marissa, I'm happy and looking forward to being able to interview you. See, the reason why I think that our brother Rick suggested you come on tomorrow in the morning at 11 o'clock on our show. Basically, it's a show sharing your testimony, your journey in the Watchtower. What's your Watchtower story? So you have a story.
Yeah.
So when you come on, great. So when you call in, all I'm trying to make sure you kind of get this is make sure you're muted, but call in early. Make sure you're muted you hit *6 and then listen. Does it say unmuted, muted? Sometimes I do it 2 or 3 times just to make sure you're muted. And then you have, Rick will see your number. And just give him your area code, and he'll know your number, so that when he's doing the other show, monitoring the show before you, he'll see that you're already there and ready to go. That sound good?
Yeah, sounds good. Yes, ma'am.
Well, Miss Marissa, I'm looking forward to hearing you, and I'm so glad you came on, and I'm so sorry you had to deal with that, and I know exactly what you mean about even if there was a brother that was willing to help you, he'd have to deal with the glaring eyes of his wife and the glaring eyes of other sisters who knew your wife and knew who the guy was. It's just so stupid. Stupid. Okay, well, we're going to talk about any kind of a good experience. If anybody has something that made them smile, or something that somebody did or said that made them feel like, wow, thank you, really appreciate that. Like, I never had anybody give me money, but I sure had people calling me to get money, and I was like really poor. But I find a way to do it, give them the money they needed, even if I had to call up my poor Jehovah's Witness brother and borrow it from him and give it to them, and then they never pay me back. But I always wanted to be a blessing. I still today ask the Lord You know, if there's an opportunity to be a blessing, I always want to be a blessing. If it's to bring food to somebody or make them something to eat or take them to the store or ask my husband to take them to the store or, you know, bring food to a homeless person or buy food for a homeless person. I've given gas. I've filled up people's gas. It's just, I feel like when the Lord puts a blessing in front of you to do, you could be a blessing to this person. He gives you this, it's like an honor. Somebody want to speak? I don't want to keep hearing my mouth. Start. Hello. Yes, hello, my brother. How are you?
Hey, it's Chris. I just wanted to make a point because, first of all, I appreciate the fact that in spite of the dynamic that especially in the last 25 years, so many people have such horrific experiences, but when I started studying in 1985, there was the pretense of rainbows and puppy dogs, and I'd be happy to tell you how and why it encouraged me to at least get baptized, even though right now I know ideologically and even psychologically it was dysfunctional, but I'd like to share my story if you don't mind.
Okay, Chris, I'm holding with bated breath.
Oh, I was just waiting for you to acknowledge because after getting a new phone and a SIM card, I'm still having network issues. So anyway,
Yeah.
but anyway, I get this knock on the door in 1985, and some people know my background. By this time, I've been studying with Herbert W. Armstrong's Worldwide Church of God that Angela and Angela especially know about. I have a library full of books from the Knights of Columbus. And so these witnesses knock on my door in 1985. And it took me about 4 months just to break out of my shell after accepting the study to go to the Kingdom Hall. And the first time I go to the, I'm sorry.
That's your permission. My brother, I'm sensing you might, you know what, we used to talk a lot. Do you remember, Chris, a while back, a few years ago, you and I used to talk a lot at night?
Right.
Do you remember that? Sure. Okay. I want to know if you would also sometime, maybe in 2 weeks, like to come on and share your story. Because it sounds like you're sharing your story, not just an incident that made you happy. And I want to know everything and hear everything. What do you think?
Well, that would be fine. But anyway, just to be brief with my incident, when I broke out of my shyness, because when the brother came over for the next study, January of 1985, I couldn't even look him in the eye. After my dad died, and I was so shy. 4 months later, I go to the hall, and I'm getting love bombed, but it was a different love bombing than the dysfunction you might see in current JW.org videos. At the time, before the internet, I didn't have the ability to find out the social dynamic. That and the fact that I was so young and naive.
Yeah.
Because I was starting to get invited to get-togethers, and these were get-togethers that stopped while I was still active. Brothers would get together and play music. They would do acting skits, and it was just fun to see people break out of their shell and just say, hey, I can sing, I can play guitar, I can act, I can make people laugh. And by the time I stopped being active in 1998, those parties were a thing of the past. But my point was, when I look back at the psychological dynamic of, say, going to a circuit assembly or district convention, there was an excitement because it was still wrapped up in their initial teaching of that generation where people just knew they might have to go through the end of the system, but the clouds were breaking and everything would be fine. When I went to my last convention just out of curiosity in 2007. Looking around at the people and just seeing the hollow look in their faces, it was such a difference. It was kind of scary, but my point was when I came in, it was pretty positive because it kept me away from getting into trouble as a young teenager. It gave me a focus. I'm not here to say, well, join a group that's going to keep you out of certain trouble, but join yourself to an ideology that's dysfunctional. But I did have good memory, and I did have good. So anyway.
Well, that's what we're kind of looking at without your story. I mean, I understand you have a story, and I really do want to hear it. But you said you did have good experiences. That's what we're kind of trying to focus on, and experience something. Like you mentioned, having parties and get-togethers, you could play music. Personally, I never experienced that, and I was in several congregations, at least 7 or 8 congregations from the time I was young till the time I left. So, and I knew about all the other congregations, and there was never anything like that. The biggest thing anybody ever did was get a small group together to go to the beach after the Sunday meeting. That's it.
Right.
We never got to do anything. We tried to put together, my best friend Darlene and I, with her 3 kids and my 5 kids, we decided to put almost our entire income after we paid our bills for the month and put it together and buy prizes for children and cakes and cute little clown ice creams, you know, where they have the clown face on the ball of the ice cream and the cone with the half of the clown. And anyway, we had this huge party planned for the children. All of the children in our congregation were so excited because everybody was like, oh, you never do anything for your kids. They don't get to have birthdays or Christmas, or, oh, they have parties, but nobody ever did have a party. So for the kids to be told there's a party, all of the parents were so happy. And then they said, well, it's okay if I invite so-and-so from another congregation. So we had about 100 people coming. And my friend Darlene had a very large house with a large backyard, a large 2-car garage, which she used for a play area, and a big front yard. So there was plenty of room. So we went and bought all this food for all these hundreds of kids who were going to come. And we would have prizes for, like, you know, told them to dress up in any character they want. And we would have prizes for the silliest, the funniest, the most serious, the most authentic. We tried to think of categories so that every kid had a chance to win prizes. And of course, prizes cost money. Here's the day of the party, the day after making sure everybody's coming. We started getting phone calls, one after another after another. I'm sorry, Sister Anne Marie. I'm sorry, Sister Darlene. We won't be able to come. Turned out the circuit servant had found out that we were going to have this big party. He had just arrived. And he said, well, I certainly wouldn't want my child to go to a gathering like that. That's just asking for trouble. Do you know, Chris, not one child came, not one. Not one. So for you to say that you all had get-togethers and skits and music, I'm like, wow, where was that? I want to go there. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, that was Apple Valley, Southern California. But here was the irony, because at this time I'm studying, I've got long hair. Now, I never messed around with, I never got in trouble with the girls. I never had a problem where they had to drag me in the back room even after I got baptized 2.5 years later. Here's what was an epiphany for me. When I became a servant and started doing parts on the service meeting, I always documented things and took notes. And I found out 9 people out of 10 that were disfellowshipped for immorality weren't doing that hanging out at a pool bar. They had immorality with other active witnesses in good standing. And I was thinking, okay, where does Hebrews 10:25 work into that? Because you know as well as I do, the minute you start interacting with a group that close and you're meeting 3 times a week, and you find out this sister's lonely, this brother's lonely, he's discouraged. I was thinking, how come most witnesses aren't getting in trouble going out?
Yeah.
And I even asked an elder that, because I was like, I was raised and I know what it was like to be in Little League. Never got into 1 ounce of trouble. Wasn't even asked to smoke a cigarette with my buddies. But when I became a witness, I was finding out there was this dynamic where people were dealing with their frustration spiritually and psychologically, and the Watchtower wasn't giving them answers, and they were having to resort to almost being desperate, because everyone wants to wake up and feel appreciated. But, you know, I do have a lot of stories, so I'll tell you what, we can talk later about getting more of the story. I just wanted to make the point that there was at least the appearance of good things, and it worked for the point it was relevant.
Yeah.
But by the time period, and especially after being a servant, was almost appointed an elder, it just became so dysfunctional that I didn't have any other option than to step back and say, there's something wrong here. And
Well, this sounds like a story that we would love to hear on this show. I would love to just concentrate on a positive experience or another positive memory. You have a story, and you've always been Mr. Interesting to me. Because I remember, like I said, we used to talk late at night. So I want to know if you'll be willing, or just consider, my brother Chris, would you consider coming in about a month? Now, tomorrow, Marissa is, she's the one that has the 17-year-old twins, one's autistic, and she was made a single mother in the Watchtower, and her experience was not very good. Some people were nice, not so much. And I would love to hear your story. So 2 weeks from tomorrow is our next Extreme Sunday, where Rick has this show, basically ex-Jehovah's Witnesses share their Watchtower story. And I want to know if you would seriously consider that. Now, you're still in California, are you?
no, I've been in Henderson, just out of Vegas for 13 years.
Oh my God! Why did I always picture you in Southern California, Chris? I so swear.
Well,
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so I want you to think about it. And before we say goodbye for now, is there one experience, it's not a long testimony, an experience that was positive in the Watchtower? Because even though we have to really, really try, there might be a memory or an experience you can share with us, perhaps.
Yes, I'll give you one, and thank you. The brother that knocked on my door in January of 1985, started to study. When I started jibber jabbering with him, and he finally was able to just get a couple facts out of me, I was looking at his forehead, and there's a reason why. He put his hand out and he said, Richard Wallendall. And this is my friend James Melendez. I shake his hand, and I said, Brother Wallendall, even though I'd already been studying the Bible, so I almost instinctively used that word brother. I said, Richard, I have known your daughter since kindergarten, and your son and her. I remember you from being a Little League coach from 1975. This is 10 years later.
Oh my goodness.
And I look at James Melendez, and I said, James Melendez, you have two daughters, Michelle and Tanya, that I go to school with in junior high. He says, yep, I live right around the corner. Richard says, would you like to start a study next week? I said, sure. Now, that was a very uncanny set of circumstances. And, and when, I got studied, to answer your question, the one positive thing, Richard Wallendahl was the one that baptized me at Norco in September of 1987. Richard Wallendahl is the one that married me and Lori in May of 1991. At the end of the wedding talk, he broke off the script after we were officially man and wife, and he said, Chris, I want to let you know one thing. The fact that both of my children left the organization, I want to let you know since meeting you that I consider you not only a spiritual father, but the fact that you lost your father in 1982, I consider me as almost being a second father to you. And I was like, it's beautiful.
Oh.
But I still have the video. I saved that one snippet on an old VHS, but I thought, what a sweet thing to say.
Yes. Oh.
But
That
anyway,
makes me get tears.
well, you know, because I don't care if you're someone who might appear more vulnerable. Now, Richard was a big guy, 6'4" contractor. I'm 6'3", 220. But I'll tell you what, the minute you get an affirmation like that, I don't care if you're 22 or me now at 54, I still think about that story and think, what a nice emotional moment that goes outside of the realms of, is the Watchtower right? No, of course not. But that's not a bad experience to have, especially on your wedding day. So that's my
well, you know what? I'm glad you shared that because you had a moment of raw, genuine love and kindness and vulnerability. Absolute right there. No agenda, no fake. And it was real, and it was about love and kindness, and I care about you. And this is, that I genuinely care about you, and I know what you mean. And I don't know if it's possible. Maybe you can talk to Rick about it. But wouldn't it be something is when you share your testimony, your Watchtower testimony on Sixth Green Sunday 2 weeks from now? Wouldn't it be lovely if we because it's on YouTube. Rick always puts it on YouTube. If that little clip. I'm crying. I feel tears in the back of my eyes just picturing you standing there with your wife, holding her hand. You guys are holding hands, and he's talking to you, and it's all about him expressing those words to you from his heart, touching your heart. That is something you never forget.
That's right. But the irony is, and I don't know if whether or not he was told he shouldn't have gone off script, but it was a beautiful moment. And Richard was the kind of guy, even though he was an elder at the time, he was almost the kind of guy that was like, I don't care what the script says. I'm just going to say this because that's how I feel. And I was with him holding his hand in the spring of 2003, dying of cancer. And I said, Richard, I've been inactive for 5 years. And there's issues I have, but I said, I'm not here to blow smoke off your butt. I'm here because I love you. And I get what you did for me. And you know what he did? He kind of gave me a wink. Now, this is the guy that used to weigh 240. Big guy, big hands. At this time, he weighed about 85 pounds. And said, I have problems with the organization too. But he said, I'm within a couple of weeks of buying the farm. And I said, Richard, I'll tell you what, why don't we just agree that at the end of the rainbow, everything's going to be okay? I went down, kissed his forehead and said, you take care, bro, and I'll always love you.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Well, I wasn't saying it to be anything. It was just the fact that he was able to break out of the Watchtower mentality. I'd already been out of it for 5 years, but there comes a time when not all elders are bad. and evil. Some of them are dealing with their own perplexity and things. But anyway, I didn't mean to make you overly emotional, but there comes a time in life when things hit the fan, that it's reality. And this is why I don't have a problem talking about good things about the witnesses, because some people are like, well, everything's wrong. It's not. There's some good things.
Yes. And it's precious because we all know, even though we might not say it, if you look at the big picture of Watchtower, I always felt like I was on. Like I was always subconsciously monitoring myself. Do I have the right look on my face? Am I dressed right? Am I saying the right thing? Am I using the right intonation? Everything was not relaxed and genuine. So it doesn't matter if they were good or bad, but when this brother said that to you after he had married you, and when you came to him later when he was dying, that was an absolute no holds barred, genuine from the heart. That was not fake. There was no agenda. That was pure, real. And we couldn't really be that in the Watchtower. So when we experienced that, when you experienced that when you were married, it's like so rare and precious. Like the Bible says, that precious pearl. That precious pearl. That's what you experience, in my opinion.
Yeah, because the minute a person can't find beauty, and even in the middle of dysfunction, was the Watchtower right? No, but was this connection I had with this person that I'd known from the time I was playing Little League in the mid-'70s, and found out, oh my God, I've known your daughter since kindergarten? Sure, I'll start a study. If I didn't know that his daughter was Lisa and his son was Eric, and he was a Little League coach, and he said, would you like to start a study? I would have said no. Why did I start a study? Why were all those things in sync to where I could at least have one genuine friendship to this day? What do you think about Richard? I love the guy, and I always will.
I'm sure he loved you too. I mean, you might have been a real blessing to him. Who knows how many doors slammed in his face, or how many people said no, or said, you people this, you people that. It's like, wow, here you were, a nice guy, and you made him feel good. He probably felt happy. Oh, I'm going to go study with Chris today. It doesn't matter if it was real or not real. You were real, and he was real.
Right. Which actually, I know you have to go and get on to other people, but during the beginning of our study, he had a contract in Bakersfield, and he had the option to get his hotel room paid for and stay there all week. He would drive back to Southern California from Bakersfield every Monday afternoon to have a study with me.
Oh my God.
I was thinking, Bakersfield, you're looking at a good 5 hours.
3 hours?
Okay.
Oh, yeah. That's wrong.
But anyway, Anne-Marie, I love the fact that you gave me a chance to blab away. But anyway, there were positive things. It's not all negative. We just have to learn and go on our journey and take what's good and figure out what fits this. So
you know what, that is so positive, and I'm really wondering for sure now. I don't know if you had enough time to think about it, but Chris, do you think that you would feel comfortable and be willing to come on Sixth Screen Sunday 2 weeks from now?
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I'd be happy to. Sure.
We would love to have you. I don't know if Rick is still there. Rick, are you still there?
I'm right here, Anne-Marie. Yep.
What are you thinking about our brother Chris coming on? He and I used to talk a lot way before Apostle Babe took over the nighttime shows. I would end up talking a lot, and Zach too, and a few others, mostly women. And then Chris would be Mr. Patient, and he'd be sitting there quiet for like an hour. And it would turn out he was still there, patiently waiting for us to be quiet. Chris is a great guy.
Yeah, no, in fact, it'd be great to have him come on. We love Chris, and it'd be great to have him come on in 2 weeks. Yep.
Okay, thank you so much. So Chris, do you mind giving Rick the first 3 digits of your phone number so that 2 weeks from now, he can see that you're on, that you're available, that you're on the line? Do you mind?
Oh no, that's I'm 702. I think he still has my number in the phone system, unless if he updated it, it might not be there. But I can make sure Rick has that. Sure.
I've got the number, Anne-Marie. I got the number. Yep.
I'm very, very glad, because I know that's how you know who's on and who's not there yet. Okay, Chris, I want to thank you so much. I feel really great. I'm happy that Marissa's coming on tomorrow, and I get to look forward to you in 2 weeks, and I appreciate that you came on. And I really appreciate the story of, because you're a genuine guy. I know you are, Chris. I listened to you enough over the years. You're a genuine guy. So I'm really looking forward to your story. And I just want to ask if anybody is out there, if they would like to just chime in. Doesn't matter who's talking or how long we've been talking. This doesn't mean that you can jump in and say, may I comment, or I have an experience, or I'd like to come into the conversation. However you would like to interject yourself. This show is for you. Whether you're a PMO physically in the organization, but mentally you already figured out that this is not God's organization, this is not God's anything, and you need a little support, we're here for you. If you're a POMO, you're physically out, you're mentally out, but now you don't have any friends, you need someone live to talk to, someone live to listen to you. We are here every Saturday and every other Sunday. And if you're a PIN-Q in the Watchtower, that's physically in, but mentally you're at the point where you're questioning. You know, you're questioning to a point where you can't swallow down those questions. I questioned, but I always swallowed it down, and oh, Jehovah will take care of it, or oh, they're just imperfect men, or I need to pray harder, or I need to work on my humility. You know, when you're past the point where you can't just reason away the questions in your mind that are bothering you, and you know you have some real questions, you can't just ask anybody. So if you're a PIN-Q, this is a safe place. You do not have to be afraid. Nobody is going to chastise you. Use a fake name. Call yourself Doug. Call yourself Sally. Doesn't matter. Anybody want to chime in? Star 6. Share an experience, something positive. If you can remember anything positive. Star 6, we are looking.
Hey,
Okay, brother. Yeah. Hi.
This is Sept. So I think the one. I'm sorry.
I just got it. You and Eric. I get all.
I just remember. I remember one. There was a brother. He was married, and I realize now that he considered me a spiritual. What is it? Spiritual orphan or fatherless boy. You know, I wasn't as great yet. But what he would do is that he would have little family outings. It might be something as basic as going to a park. It might be something like going to a museum. He would include me. And I was a little kid, and he would call my mom, and then she put me on the phone, and he'd say, "Hey, the family and I are going to XYZ. Would you like to go?" "Oh, sure. Let me ask my mom." So she said, "Yeah, you go." And then you go. So I always appreciated that he did that, because nobody else, and certainly none of the elders, they were just horrible people, ever did that. And one of the outings was something that really affected me, because I was always interested in Egypt, the history of Egypt, Sphinx and the pyramids and all that. In Chicago, and in Illinois, as a part of the University of Chicago, there is a world-class museum that is called the Oriental Institute. And Oriental, in the ancient days, you can think of that as what we think of as the Middle East. And so when you're in the Hebrew scriptures and you're reading about the various empires, the Assyrian Empire and the Persian Empire and all of that, a lot of those artifacts, even artifacts that reference things directly out of the Bible, the actual physical artifact is in that museum. And so we went there and we had our Bibles and we kind of read along, and then we actually got to see the artifacts with, you know, Belshazzar's name on it, or Sennacherib or somebody like that. And you see and it doesn't make the Bible come alive. It's, this is real history that's attached to that.
Yeah.
My first exposure to that museum was through this brother, and he also gave me my first baseball glove. I hate baseball, I'm a football guy, but I appreciated it. And every time I would see him, even as a grown man, I would just give him the biggest hug. And anybody that was in earshot, I would tell him all the different things that he did. So he definitely made a difference in my life. So I would be remiss to not mention that.
That is so sweet, especially when there is a genuine hug and they don't care who says what or who doesn't like it or who's gossiping or not. To have a memory of someone who genuinely cared about you, who genuinely took an interest in you, who genuinely was interested in you, and who genuinely seemed to support you in who you were. A lot of young kids, especially teenagers or young teenagers in the organization, it's so sad, but it's unfortunate that the only time they seem to get attention from an elder or ministerial servant is to be criticized.
Yeah.
Or chastised.
Exactly right.
Put down.
That's what we can look forward to. Yep.
It's a shame. Oh, that's such a nice thing. Go ahead.
No, that was it. That's just one story. I want somebody else. I just wanted to mention that. I always try to support your program, so I just wanted to mention that.
Stephen, you're awesome. Thank you so much. Don't go away, okay? Anybody else like to share a thought, have an opinion? Like to comment, star 6? We are listening. Anybody want to say anything? Okay, my dears. Now I got to think of something else. Okay. As a single, young, pretty mother, unfortunately, I should have been ugly. I think I would have had a lot more friends. But as a single mother with those little kids, I didn't get much positive attention. We ended up with a circuit overseer for about 3 or 4 years, much older brother. His name was Brother A.B., and his wife was a doll. They were both, you could just tell their energy was loving and calm and gentle. And I just, you could just feel their energy. And I just loved being near them because they were so kind. And I remember being in the back room during a meeting. I had one of my little babies, and we got to talking. The Brother Avery was in the back, the circuit overseer, and I felt kind of funny because I'd never been alone with a circuit overseer before. And we were just making small talk, and I kind of mentioned to him that sometimes I really struggled because I always never missed a meeting. I was always at every meeting. I went to service as much as I could, never missed an assembly or a circuit convention. Even if I had just given birth, I was there with all my other children by myself. And I said it was hard for me sometimes to deal with the gossip. It wasn't just the gossip, it was the ugly things that were not true, that were being said and spread around the entire circuit, sometimes beyond. And it was hard, and I was trying very hard to keep a humble attitude and to not be vindictive or jealous or angry or resentful or to ever have thoughts of revenge. And I just told him it was really hard. And I was trying to be the best Jehovah's Witness I could. I kept praying to Jehovah, please help me to be a good witness of you, and on and on. And he was so kind. He didn't blow me off. He didn't make some comment like I shouldn't be talking bad about the brothers. He was so kind. And he said to me, and I'll never forget it, he said to me, if you were my granddaughter, I would be proud to call you my granddaughter. And I just looked at him like nobody in the entire witness world from the time I was 5 years old had ever said something that touched me so deeply. This man, this brother in high standing, well respected, to look at me privately and say, if you were my granddaughter, I would be proud to call you my granddaughter. And I could feel tears start coming. I said, oh, brother, thank you. I had to go to the bathroom, and I started just bawling because I was always called a whore and I was a screw up and other words. But anyway, that for me is the most positive thing that ever happened to me, aside from that other brother who was a circuit overseer, Brother St. Clair, Italian brother, wild, curly, black hair, pockmarked face. He was such a great brother. He was the one that told all of us who would come to us impromptu, if he wanted to come, fine. If he didn't, fine. But this is when, during the circuit overseer's visit, they would have a special meeting in the afternoon, about maybe 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon at the Kingdom Hall, and you could come if you wanted. And there were only sisters that showed up. And I remember, because I love Brother St. Clair, I made sure I showed up every afternoon during his visit. In this one little group meeting, he started talking to us about this belief and that belief that the Watchtower taught. And he brought up a belief, and he said, now, blah, blah, blah. He asked us a question. And in turn, each sister would raise her hand, and he'd listen to their answer and their explanation, and he would nod, and then he'd pick on another sister, and he'd pick on another sister, and after everybody had said whatever it was they thought was the answer, he looked at all of us pointedly and said very quietly, we don't know. And we had never heard any brother in authority, in fact, any brother, period, say, we don't know, in reference to any teaching of the Watchtower. And then he brought up another belief, another teaching, the same thing. What if this, or what about that? And each one in turn was called on, and the sister would give her opinion or what she thought was right, and he'd nod, okay. And then he'd pick the next sister. There were about maybe 7, 8 sisters at each afternoon meeting, and at this particular meeting there were about 9 or so of us. And after about the 5th time of bringing up a belief, a teaching that was Watchtower, specifically Watchtower, he asked a question, and the first sister raised her hand, and he called on her, and she said, we don't know. And he said, that's right. He looked at all of us pointedly and said, we don't really know what Jehovah has in store for us. We each need to be like the Bereans, to examine the scriptures daily as to whether these things are so, to be like Hebrews 5:14 admonishes us, have our perceptive powers trained through use, which involves thinking, have the ability to make sure of all things, as 2 Thessalonians 5:21 brings out, make sure of all things. So basically, he was telling us privately, trust your brain and your relationship with God. Pray, use your conscience. Don't be afraid to check the scriptures. Don't be afraid to check out anything, because nothing is set in stone, basically. We all got that message. I don't remember if I really took it to heart, because you know how Watchtower is always hammering. You know, you're always supposed to be right there in the right now with whatever they're hammering at you. You don't think about last week or last year. It's just what are they saying right now? And even if they change, it's like sometimes Jehovah's Chariot is on the move, just like Rick said. Well, Jehovah's Chariot has a flat tire. I love that Rick said that. And they do. They have a flat tire. I think they have 2 flat tires. Anybody want to comment about anything positive that they feel that they experienced or got from being in the Watchtower, Star 6? Well, Rick, you think we should wrap it up now, since it doesn't seem like anybody has anything to say? Rick might be busy. Okay, guys, I think I've run out. I might have some positive things. Let me see. Positive. Oh, one time I got called into the back room because I wanted to buy a car. I needed a car. I was getting in trouble because 3 times a week I would have to go through my phone book. This was back in the days where nobody had caller ID, and I didn't have a car, and I lived very far away from the Kingdom Hall. So 3 times a week I'd have to get out my phone book and start calling different people. And they would always answer the phone, hello, and I'd say, hi, Brother Brown. Yes, Anne Marie. It was always the exact same thing. And I'd have to call maybe 5, 6 people before I could finally find somebody who was willing to come all the way out and pick up me and my 5 children. But I had no other way. It was miles away. There were no buses. Even if there were buses, I don't have money. So one day at the meeting on a Sunday, this time I was pregnant when they told me that, this brother pulled me aside and said, Anne Marie, I've been getting a lot of complaints from the brothers for you calling 2 and 3 times a week, calling their house, asking for a ride. And I'm just looking at him. I'm already humiliated. I'm already embarrassed. And I said, but brother, I have no way to get to the meeting. He said, Anne Marie, it's your responsibility, okay? This is your responsibility. Everybody has their responsibilities. And I repeated it. I said, brother, I have no other way to get to a meeting than to rely on a ride. He said, Anne, the brothers are tired. And he walked away because he said what he had to say. Because all these brothers had said, you better talk to her because we're sick of this. So I'm like standing in the middle of the hall. He walks away, and I'm looking around at all the crowd of the brothers and sisters, feeling like a piece of garbage. How am I going to get a car? I have no car. So, like I said, I needed a car, and then at another meeting, not too soon after the meeting, there was this arrogant. I swear to God, he put the A in arrogant. He was the most self-righteous, arrogant, whatever. His name was Jim. Big bad Jim. Tall, handsome, money out of the yin yang, beautiful home, beautiful. This brother, Jim, never spoke to me. The entire time I was there, he only said 3 words to me. The whole time I was ever in any kind of with him. He was in my congregation. He only spoke 3 words to me the whole time. I overheard Jim telling everybody who would listen in a joking way, I'm selling my mother's car. His mom had just died the week or so before. He said, I've kept her car in perfect condition. I'm just selling it for the $500 I put on, he said last month or whatever, he had put brand new tires on her car, on his mom's car. They were $125 a piece, top of the line tires. He said, I just want to sell it for what I paid for those tires. And we all knew that car. It was a really nice, solid 4-door Ford car. It was yellow. And I thought, oh my God, if he would only let me make payments, that would be the answer to my prayers. I would never have to bother anybody again. So I timidly went up to him, waited for everybody else to walk off. And right before he was going to walk off, I was so scared and so humble and so shy. And I said, Brother Jim, he turned around and looked at me like, how dare you speak to me? And I said, please, Brother Jim, I couldn't. But over here, that you're selling your mom's car, and I need a car so desperately, please. Would you sell it to me? Because nobody else needed it. It's not like anybody else was offering to buy the car. Everybody had 2 and 3 and 4 cars. I was in a very well-off congregation. And he looked at me with this look of, how dare you even ask me? Because I asked him, would you let me do it on payments, $50 a month? I could have done it. And he looked at me with the coldest, squinting eyes, like, how dare you bug? He said, I want cash. And he turned on his heel and walked off. So in desperation, I went to an elder in the congregation right there immediately, who was kind to me, and I asked him for advice. Who could I ask to please let me borrow $500? I will pay them back. I was a very honest person who kept a straight checkbook. I was very good with my bills. And nobody could give me a suggestion, so I asked another elder, and next thing I know, they're having a committee meeting, and I'm invited. They want to know why I'm bothering everybody asking for money. Well, I'm already humiliated, but in the back room with 3 elders, and I'm so embarrassed. I'm so young. And so I explained, I'm trying to get a solution to my problem. Brother so-and-so told me all the brothers are sick of me calling them. And here, Brother Jim is selling his mother's car. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not like anybody else needs it. I just, need someone to be willing to front me the money, because Jim will not take payments. And they said, well, we want to see your bills. We want to see your checkbook. We want to know all about your income. So they scheduled another committee hearing after another meeting. And of course, everybody at the first meeting and then the second meeting in the back room, everybody saw me coming to go back with the elders. I'm sure they all thought that I had committed fornication or something. So I had to come there with all my bills, all my checkbooks, all of my everything. And they were going through all of my papers while my poor children were waiting outside. And they were very little. And this brother that I told you about, Brother Bill, that had my friend Bob had run into earlier today and said, oh, Anne Marie said hi. And you said, oh, tell her hi back. He was in that meeting. And these elders, not Brother Bill, but the other two elders, were just so nasty to me. And one of them said, well, I just don't understand why she doesn't take the bus. The what? You know how far the bus was? What about rain or shine? What about groceries? I mean, it was just insane. And they just kept at me and at me and at me until finally I said, you know what? Forget it. I can't do this anymore. And I walked out and I heard Brother Bill, the elder I told you that was always nice to me and still is. I heard him say after I shut the door, I would have walked out too. So for me, that was a positive, good thing that I remember. Anyway, I quit going to meetings. I just stopped. I thought, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. Screw them. But thank God there was a very sweet sister who came to find out, why are you not going to meetings? And I told her. She goes, uh-huh. Next thing I knew, she called me about a week later and she said, Anne Marie, brother and sister, I forgot their name, are completely willing to pick you up for every meeting, every book study, even for service. And I said, you're kidding. She said, you will not have to make another phone call. So I was very grateful for that. And that couple with their two kids, I was so grateful. I almost had a nervous breakdown because Watchtower can be very cold and very unforgiving and very, not my problem. That's your responsibility. Anybody didn't want to comment? Because I don't know if our brother Rick is back there yet. Are you there, my brother? Anybody want to share? Well, I know I'm tired of hearing my mouth. But there are good memories. Yes, my brother. Who's that?
This is Sparky.
Hey, Sparky. What a cute name.
Well, that's my.
What's on your mind, my dear?
Listen to your show. I have 2 or 3 memories that come back. I've been gone. I left the organization about the time COVID started. And many years ago, I knocked on the door of a guy that had long hair and smoked pot and just living a wild lifestyle. And we became friends, and I taught him how to read and write. And long story short, as time went on, I was a ministerial servant and had the responsibilities of 5 or 6 servants in the congregation. And I finally stepped down. I just couldn't handle the business anymore. But he stayed in, and he had become a servant many years later. And in the meantime, I faded. And he goes to a congregation not far from where I live. And my sister and her husband go there, and her husband's an elder. And there's been a lot of family controversy, and I've always been an outcast and a rebel in the congregation because I always spoke my mind. And when he makes comments at the meetings, he always mentions my name and the brother that brought him into the truth. And even though I don't go, he and I still have a good relationship.
Uh-huh.
And it's kind of ironic that the elders have told him privately, approached him and said, never mention my name, my acronym Sparky, which they don't know. Never mention his name again in your comments because it upsets his sister.
What?
Yeah.
Hey,
So,
just not.
I know. But, you know, I hear so many people on these different shows talking about needing emotional support and counseling, and everybody's different. Some people need it, but in my case, my healing came from just getting away from it and taking my power back.
It's totally understandable. I think that all of us can understand what you mean about taking your power back. Yeah.
Yep. I've been in the health field, in the natural health field, and I have a different business now, and have done quite well, better than those that stayed in the organization. When I realized going out in service and going to the meetings was a waste of time, I thought, well, I'm just going to focus on making money. And now I have enough money that I'm good. I don't have to worry about what I'm going to do 2 or 3 years from now or whatever. Not that I'm bragging, I'm not, but comparing that to those that are dominated by the elders to give them their power, I'm in a better place.
Sparky, I have to say, way to go, dude. Way to go.
And I've had all these memories of all the years of the hypocrisy of the elders' children getting by with immorality, smoking pot and doing drugs and all the stuff that they do and not getting in trouble. But my conscience was so strict. Every time I had a bad thought, I'd go to the elders and turn myself in. And you know how that goes. Yeah, you know that.
Oh, no doubt. Instead of being, when that priest, please excuse me for interjecting, so don't hit a thought.
Yeah.
If you were a Catholic and you were the type that every thought that you did that what you thought was not right before God, and you went running to the priest and going to confession, like every other day, the priest would calm you down and say, now that's only natural, God doesn't hate you, the Lord loves you, here you do 5 Hail Marys or whatever. He would soothe you with the comfort of God's love and the forgiveness in the blood of Jesus Christ. Now, if you go to an elder with the same, oh my God, I had these thoughts, or I was looking at this girl and oh my goodness, I felt these feelings, and they, instead of immediately, first thing a priest would do would be to try to calm you down and let you know that God loves you.
It's going to be
And
okay.
elder in the Watchtower is going to, the Bible says if you look at a woman with immoral thoughts, you've already committed fornication. You're already in adultery. If they immediately beat you up and make you feel even worse. Go ahead, my brother. Go ahead, Sparky.
No, that's fine. Well, my problem, out of all the problems I had that I turned myself into, another woman was a small fraction of them. But long story short, I've been married to this beautiful woman who she had a son that was 8 years old when I married her, and now he's in his late, almost 40, and he doesn't go to meetings. He got out a long time ago. He's disfellowship several times, but she was in the same position that you and the other lady mentioned earlier about being very attractive and sitting on the front row, making sure their children paid attention. That's what my wife did before I married her. And so I thought that resonated with your story and the other lady's story. But
I appreciate you telling me that. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. And about the car you mentioned, and where I'm at now in life, and I learned this from my father, if there was a family in need in our congregation, he would give them a car. When we didn't have the money, I'd hear mom and dad talk about having $25 in the bank, but they had an extra car, and they would give it to a family in need.
Oh, that is so sweet.
Yep. and I've patterned my life after him. And Jesus, I don't read the Bible anymore. I hardly ever pray because I want to see what I can do on my own. But one thing I do appreciate is that there are a lot of good people in this world that are not witnesses, and a lot of them are religious. But what I have gleaned from my experience in the organization is all the rules and the mandates they put out is a bunch of BS. If you just follow Jesus Christ and love your neighbor as yourself and are kind to people, I think we got a chance.
You know, Sparky, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. All Jesus ever said was, come to me, follow me, remain in my word. You know, do the golden rule, treat others as you want to be treated. And then his final commandment, he said, I'm giving you a new commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. And you know, how complicated is that? How complicated is any of that? One brother, his name was Daniel Learl Hall. He did a lot of research. He wrote a book called The Armageddon Cult. And I don't know if Great Tribulation Ministries, his website is still available because he died a few years ago. But he wrote an incredible book called The Armageddon Cult. It's kind of like Crisis of Conscience, where you can just open up this book to any random page and just start reading in any random place. And it's like you can't put it down. It's all about the truth about the truth. But what he told me and a few others is he had done research, and he said in the Watchtower, there are 1,777 rules, procedures, mandates, requirements, everything. There are so many in detail, and they keep making more. And then you have the elders and the circuit overseers that like to make up their own rules. It's just insanity.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't understand is that it's all about the flesh. When you're in the flesh, you're nitpicking, you're criticizing, you're looking at others with a critical eye, and you're judging. Whereas when you're in the spirit, it's just follow the Lord. Sorry, go ahead, Sparky.
No, I agree. You talked about the parties you put on for the children. Before I married my wife 30 years ago, my in-laws, they were the financially successful people in the congregation. And my mother-in-law liked to entertain, and she loved square dancing and line dancing. And we had in her carport music playing every Friday night or whenever. And she'd have Watchtower study, and then we'd all dance. And one of the elders didn't like the Brooks and Dunn boot scooting boogie, because in that song it said, I'd like to have a shot of that redhead over there looking at me. And we didn't think of it that way. We were just having fun. And it was a good social time. But they always seemed to find a way to put a stop to it.
I know what you mean, Sparky. It's always a one with the stick up there behind, isn't it?
Yeah. But the positive thing is, when I grew a beard after that Watchtower article came out, I think in 16, about dress and grooming, and that set a lot of people on fire in the congregation.
Oh, I wish I could have put a point in the wall of your kingdom also.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've been through a few congregations, but I've always been the one to stand up to them. And that article was clear as mud. And the elders took me in the back room and said, we're not going to shun you because of your beard, but basically they said it needs to come off. And I listened to them politely. And I said, well, the Watchtowers said there was nothing wrong with it. For right now, it's going to stay on. I work outside in the cold, in the heat, and all that. And I'm going to throw it. And so I found out who it was that was complaining. It was an elder son. And he was notorious for getting drunk, but the elders never did anything to him about
Oh, my Lord Jesus.
But in my business that I do now, I was working on the side of the road, and my name is all over the side of my work truck, and there at the post office. And the guy that was working for me, and it's right about 2 miles from the Kingdom Hall. And the guy that was working for me at the time, I told him, I said, during the course of this day while we're working here, there's going to be an elder show up. And there will be another one after him because they have to have 2 witnesses. And I wasn't going to the meetings and all that. And sure enough, there's an elder that showed up.
Of course.
And I said hello, acknowledged him. And he bragged on my workmanship. And his wife was polite, but she is the one that she is the elderette in the congregation. And I was nice to him.
Always one.
Yeah, I was nice to him, but I went back to work. I said, I got to go back to work. And it was 100-something degrees out, hot, and I get ill-tempered when I'm hot. But I was being polite, and they left. And I looked at the guys working for me. I said, before we leave here, there will be another elder show up. And it was 2 hours later, this elder came up, obese, and I know he had health problems, and I'm not judging him by that, but a lot of your health problems can be taken care of if you have moderation and don't eat too much.
Right.
And he came out, his ankles are folding over his tennis shoes because he's so overweight. And he started criticizing my work. And at that point of the day, I was ready to come home. I was ill-tempered. And he said something about, and I don't want to say what I was doing because I don't get myself away, because I faded. I handed him the tool I had in my hand and just held it up. I said, you do a better job.
You go, Sparky. Good job. What do you say?
No, I'm not putting you down. I said, that's exactly what you're doing. You were putting me down.
Exactly. Call him on it.
He said, you have a new truck and new equipment. You must be in debt. I said, I don't owe for anything.
I've never seen him say obnoxious twit. Go ahead.
So, after I drop my help off, I come back home, and it might have been meeting night, I don't know. And my routine is when I come home in the evening, and it's hot, and I work hard, I drink me 4 or 5 beers and just chill out and wind down. And after that 4th one, I thought, I'm going to call that son of a gun up. I called him up.
Tell me.
And I said, is this so-and-so? He says,
yeah.
Who is this? He's very aggressive. And I said, I'm Sparky. You came up on a job where I was working today, and you were rude to me and embarrassed me in front of my help. I said, it's a wonder you didn't get your butt kicked or get cussed out. I said, but being the Christian I am, I chose the polite way. But now that I have you on the phone, I want to tell you something. If you ever see my rig out working on another job, you better not ever approach me again.
Woo-hoo! I know you did. Ooh, what do you say?
Oh, brother, I'm sorry. I said, you can disfellowship me right now. I do not care. I said, but I guarantee you this. If you mention my name from that platform and you tarnish my reputation in this community, I have done nothing wrong. I live a good moral life. I take care of my wife. She still goes to the meetings. And I am the family head according to your standards. I said, you do not have my permission to talk to her unless I am present. And I never, ever plan on being present again. So leave my wife alone. Leave me alone. And if I ever hear that y'all have said anything negative about me or disfellowship me, I said, I have enough money set aside with every one of you elders' names on it, and I will own everything you have when I get through with you. And I'm begging you to make that announcement.
Sparky, I like you. Sparky, have you ever heard me tell the story about my friend Bob, who's an XJW, who basically talks the same way you do, makes his own money, he stands up to the elders. Have you ever heard about my Bob?
I don't think I have. If I have, I don't think it's to be hard with.
This man did not bow down to the elders, married to a Jehovah's Witness woman. She's a hardcore, whatever the elders say is the word from God. And he just decided he wasn't going to go anymore. And he basically found out that his wife was crying to the elders and to the witnesses at the hall, oh, you know, my husband Bob, I think he's leaving Jehovah. I think he's becoming an apostate. I just don't know what to do. Satan got a hold of his mind. Because he'd stand up to the elders just like you told your story. You stood up. And the elders were talking to her behind his back. Well, they came over to talk to her one time. They were trying to get her to leave him, and he happened to be home when they showed up at the door. He met them at the door, and he told them straight to their face, straight up, you do anything, say anything to try to break up my marriage, to try to come between my wife and me, I've got a 45 and a bullet with your names on them.
Yep.
And you know what? They never came back, and they never again tried to get her to leave him. And that's been like 15, 16 years. And he's still walking around. They don't dare to disfellowship him. You heard that word?
I heard it. And I'm a gun enthusiast. Not that I'm a violent man. I'm very peaceful. But I like certain things, and I buy them when I get a good deal. But that elder that I'm talking about, I told him before we hung up, and this is very important what I'm about to say, that anybody listening or hears this podcast in the future remembers. I told that elder, the only authority that you have over me is that which I allow you to have. And right now, I'm not allowing you to have any.
Sparky, well said. And in fact, I would appreciate if you would repeat that very important adage.
Anytime you are bothered by the elders and they are harassing you and intimidating you, you stand firmly and look them in the eye and you say, the only authority that you have over me is that which I allow you to have. And right now, I'm not allowing you to have any.
Sparky, I think what you said is so important, and I am so glad, thank you, for repeating it, because I never felt I had any right to stand up for myself. And, you know, as a woman, we expected that we would have, you know, brothers browbeat us and tell us what we're doing wrong and everything's wrong. But I later found out that brothers that were being treated that way.
That is important. To have a man exert pressure, especially if he has a position in the congregation, is immoral, and Jesus would take them whips and beat him with it. That is wrong.
Yeah, no, it is wrong. And this isn't what Jesus taught. This isn't what Jesus taught at all. And they're always talking about how they're true Christians. You have Christians and you have quote unquote true Christians. Well, anytime they're, you know, fluttering their feathers and fluffing up their looking at me, you know, how they always say, oh, we should be humble. They're always pointing to themselves as being so good and so great and so humble and so Christian-like and so knowledgeable. They're full of BS. Full of BS. It's like,
nothing but scribes and Pharisees. But when they find somebody that's got some guts that can stand up and not be intimidated, you take the fight. And my wife, like I mentioned, she still goes to the meetings when she can. She's got her parents, she's taking care of them in her final years. And I told her the other night, I said, you know what, I may decide to go back to the meeting, and I'm blind like hell. But I would like to set foot in there 2 or 3 more times just to walk in and look at them like, yeah, what do y'all want to say to me now? Bring it. I'm ready.
Wow, I admire you because I know darn well personally I could never walk into a meeting. I can't even pick up a piece of literature from the Watchtower. I can't even go.
It makes me sick to my stomach to watch the governing body and the videos from the organization when I'm watching a channel, a apostate channel, where they put them clips in there. It makes me want to throw up.
Yeah.
But I could take care of the meeting and go to the meeting.
Oh, no. In case anybody doesn't know what Dramamine is, that's to help keep you from being nauseous and from throwing up.
Yep.
What's funny? I'm the opposite.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that I cannot listen to anything Watchtower reads, anything, because it triggers my programming. I cannot believe that I was so deeply programmed. I guess I have an addictive personality or something, I don't know. But I ran into two cart witnessing sisters while my husband went into the store, and he goes, don't talk to them. Well, I went and talked to them anyway, and I asked if I could have a book, and I was sitting in the truck just to see what they were, talking about, and I was reading, and I was thinking, well, yeah, that makes sense. It sounded very, gentle and reasoning, and I didn't read anything that jumped out at me as something wrong, and I was just sitting there, and if my husband hadn't come back when he did, he was horrified. He saw what I was doing. He said, what are you doing? And it was like, it shocked me. It was like I was going into a trance, and I didn't even notice it. They use their subliminal, hypnotic, mind control programming from the get-go. It's like they lead you so gently, and you don't sense that anything is wrong. You don't sense that you're in danger. They just lull you in.
It sucks you right back in and put that fear obligation on you. Yeah.
I'm glad you're not.
I do a lot of work in a big town down here in the south, about 60 miles from me. I'm not going to name where it is, but if I ever see a cart, I will go up to them and say, can I have 4 of these Bibles and these books? And that interests my wife, this interests me, my mother-in-law and father-in-law. I'm going to take it to them. Can I have them? And of course they'll give them to you. And then take them and throw them in the trash right in front of them.
Oh my goodness! Now, how does your wife kind of understand where your mindset is at, Sparky?
My wife and I have a great relationship. I work hard. I've grown a business, and I pay all the bills. I pay for her. If she wants it, she can.
Aww.
And she has her own business, but I take care. I am the one that will take care of the family. And in return, and I do work hard, and I come in tired. And in return, sometimes I come in late, and I'm nasty and sweaty and dirty. And I call her, I say, honey, I'm coming home. When I park my rig, I'm going to come in the basement, shower, clean up, and I'll be wanting something to eat. And that good woman of mine brings me supper in bed, and I am pampered, and I pamper her.
Oh, sweet. Oh, I love her. Oh.
She is feisty, but I respect her opinion and her stand in the organization. And I say, baby, I will never stop you from going out in service or going to the meetings. I said, but you got to realize something. I bought her a new car during COVID, or at the end of COVID. I said, but there's one thing, that car is in my name. and you are not taking anybody out in service in that car. Because if there's an accident, I will get sued. So if you choose to go out in service, you can write letters, you can do phone witnessing, or if you want to get in a car with somebody and go with them, that's fine. But there will not be a Jehovah's Witness ride in a vehicle that I have happened to me.
Oh, I never thought of that, Sparky. So if they go
that happens around here.
no.
That happens around here. Witnesses have sued each other over a minor offender.
What?
Yes.
Witnesses have sued each other
Yes.
because of an accident with a car in service or whatever?
Backing out of the driveway, they actually 5 miles an hour. They bumped, and the sister in the background or in the back seat didn't have her own transportation. Found a way to make some money and got like $20,000.
Wait, so the sister that was in the back seat that somebody was giving a ride to?
Yes.
Oh, that is so beyond me. Oh, that is so ugly. This is
Greed
supposed to
comes
be
in
a
all forms.
My Lord Jesus.
Greed comes in all forms. But the other positive thing that I want to mention is I know I'm going to drop a name, and he's a buddy of mine that lives a little over an hour away from me over in Fort Payne, Alabama. And he's been on the Rick Farron show. Rick knows him. And he and I talk, if not every day, every other day. And he used to come to our congregation 20 years ago, and I called him up. He did a show on Wendy Renee. She has a podcast or a channel. And his name is Ken Mayo. And I know that name. I said, where do I know that name from? He used to be an elder in RBC and district conventions and all that. And I started Googling, trying to find his number. And at the end of the show, he gave his number, so I called him. And 2 years, maybe 3, huh?
No, I just said, whoa. Like, wow.
Yeah, got his number. We got reconnected. When he came and gave a talk in our hall, he and his wife, when they were younger and I was younger, my wife and I took him out to dinner. And to tell you how my wife is, she's an active witness. And Ken and his wife are, I think Ken's disassociated. I don't know about his wife. But they wanted to come to the town that I live in for their anniversary, and I bought them a hotel suite for a couple nights. And told them I'd take them out on the town. And I told my wife, I said, look, me and Ken and his wife are going to go out and party. And we're going to have a nice dinner. And we're going to go to a bar or two and sit and listen to music. And we're going to have some drinks. But I do not drink and drive. And I said, look, you are welcome to come. She said, well, I can't. I said, well, I asked you this. Will you give us all a ride down to the main street of town? And when we're ready to leave, will you pick us up? She said, sure, no problem.
Oh, what a good wife.
Well, she's a good woman.
Hey, Anne-Marie, this is Rick, Anne-Marie. In fact, about five more minutes. I want to, and then we'll have to wrap it up and go to JW World News. But Sparky, what do you have to say about Fran and Joe?
They made that trip, that world famous trip across the country, made the big loop.
Yeah.
And I met them in Fort Payne with Ken and a few other good friends, and got to see them in person. And I love those people.
Aren't they nice? They're really nice.
Yeah, they know me. They know who I am, and I have a lot of respect for them. And I view them as the parents that I would like to. I can't replace their children. They're old enough to be my parents, but they had a major loss. But somehow or some way, what you lose gets replaced in some way or form. And I call them occasionally and keep in touch with them and reaffirm how much I love them.
Well, good for you, Sparky. That they're a really good couple. They came and spent a day with me here in Massachusetts, and boy, they made that trip all across the country. They're good people. They're really good people, and you sound like a really genuine man too, Sparky. I want to thank you for coming on Anne Marie's program tonight. Thank you.
Yep. Yes, sir. Well, I'm going to sign off with Anne Marie.
What do you want me to say?
I can't hear it. What's he saying?
You should.
But anyway, Anne Marie, I love the show.
I love your show. Thank you for coming on.
And maybe one day you and I will have a conversation.
Well, absolutely, and always feel free to contact Rick. And like I said to Marissa and Chris, we do have a show every other week on Six Screen Sunday. Basically, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses share their Watchtower journey or their story. And if you want, maybe you can contact Rick. We have Marissa willing to come on tomorrow, and 2 weeks after that, we have Chris. Anyway, we're going to have to wrap it up, Steph, and I want to thank you
Well, let's
so
do that.
very
Let's
much
wrap
for
it up.
coming on.
Hey, Sparky, this is Fran and Joe. Just wanted to say hi.
Hey, Fran. Yeah, hey, Fran. I'm building you up over here.
Hi.
I love you. I love you guys.
Yeah, we've had some major gains. You're right, and you're one of them.
Yep.
Yeah,
And we'll be talking soon.
Okay, we know Anne Marie has to end the show,
Yep.
but we just wanted to say hi.
Yep. Thank you. And we're going to respect her time and Rick's too. And we'll talk
Love
soon.
you. Love you all.
All right. All right. Love y'all.
Thank you for popping in. Thank you for popping in, Fran and Joe. We want to thank Sparky, Marissa, Stephen, and Chris, and anyone else who came on. And thank you all for listening in to today's show, Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower, September 23rd, 2023. We need to go to Rick, our patient brother, and to JW World News. Rick?
Well, thank you, Anne Marie. Really, really good to have so many people calling in tonight. It really was amazing. So more and more people are calling into the Six Screens. Good to hear from Sparky, and good to hear from Marissa earlier too. Two new people. And boy, I'll tell you what, things are moving fast here at the Six Screens. Thank you, Anne Marie. Well, we're going to go to JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about, but we're going to talk about it tonight. Got some good stories to talk about. So by all means, don't go anywhere. Stay with us. Coming up next right here on this YouTube channel. So we're going to end this stream right here and go to the next studio where we're going to get into